Why do I feel like I linger? Linger between the words to say the words to remember. Now we're here to take control over your body and over your soul. We're gonna take back everything and lose it all. Lose it all. Lose it all. Feel it in your arms, feel it in your legs, feel it on your fingertips and feel it in your head. Just let your body go, just let your body go, just let your body go and move to the rhythm.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to SwitchTalk, the perfectly pocket-sized podcast where we talk about this hybrid console that has stolen our hearts and minds, the Nintendo Switch. Welcome back. It's an exciting time, everybody. This is SwitchTalk 2.0. We are changing some things. If you're an audio listener on iTunes, you won't see too many changes, but except the new format. So usually we'll each play the game and give you our little review breakdown. But to give us a little bit more leeway, what we're going to do is have one informed host and the other people asking questions to see if you should buy the game. Today, we are starting off this new format talking about new Super Mario Bros. U Deluxe. Now that's a mouthful. I want to welcome my illustrious co-hosts, Clay Howard and David Jones. Clay is the one who has played the game and who we're gonna discuss with him, ask him all the big questions, what's really important. Clay, what's going on? How are you?
Doing good, man. Not bad. Yeah, just picked the game up yesterday, so a little fresh, still getting acquainted with it, but we wanted to get something out there ASAP to inform our listeners and viewers about this game. So
I think it's going to be a good change. Not only are we starting off streaming live, but we're getting that information out there with, you know, some pros and cons, the buying decision. People aren't waiting usually, you know, too long before pulling the trigger. So I think it's going to help out quite a bit. And again, joining us, which surprisingly has played this, the original, since this is a port to the Switch from the Wii U. David's kind of the second seat expert on this one. How's it going, David? How are you?
Pretty good. Yeah, I wouldn't say I'm an expert. I played this a ton in 2012 because it was like one of two games that I had at launch. And it's been a while and I haven't picked up the new version yet. That Clay is the only one that's picked up that, but it's going to be an interesting mix because I'm curious about what's new, but it's all new to Clay, and I don't think you've played it at all, either way at all, Tony, right?
Yeah, I'm not a Wii U person. I didn't drink the Kool-Aid on that one. I actually didn't know, so it was a launch title. Is that correct?
Yes.
Interesting. Yeah. Fun facts. And my history is I've only played one entry in the new Super Mario Brothers games. I think it was on the 3DS, that version, which I liked and I enjoyed. And I think, you know, all of those new Super Mario Brothers games have the similar art style. And you could argue that the Mario Go, is it called, on the iPhone, that it adopted the similar style. So it's interesting. I mean, with any game, with any Mario game, I think there's something to expect in each one of those like series that they have going on. And I'm excited to know if this is worth a buy because, as we know, it's a port, but it also includes this other game. Why don't you talk to us about that, Clay?
Yeah, so I never picked up the original Mario U for the Wii U, but I did pick up the Luigi U. I remember when I bought my Wii U, I had my options of the two, and Luigi was like significantly cheaper. So I was like, oh, I'll just pick that up. It was cool. It had like a green box, and I was like, whatever. It's something different. Because by this point in the series, I was kind of fatigued. I know a lot of people share that sentiment where after you play like the DS ones and you get to this, you're like, ugh, it's like, you know, it's more of the same. And so I kind of overlooked this one because I felt like it wasn't necessarily going to bring anything, that I hadn't already played on the Wii, which is why I skipped it on the Wii U. But once they announced that they were re-releasing this on the Switch and packaging it with the Luigi game, I was like, you know what, this seems like a good time to pick it up, because I've never played the original. And so, yeah, I grabbed it, and so far I'm loving it. It's great. So,
what are your personal thoughts on when ports come to the Switch and they're full retail price? And sometimes that's not the case here, but sometimes there's not really too much added. Here we have a bundle, so we got the 2 games and the 1 deluxe version, which is great. But where do you stand on that? Personally, I want a little bit of a break. Bring it down $10, Nintendo. Whether you give us more additional content or not, that's kind of generally where I like to see it. Just a little bit of a break. It just feels odd to play games years later for the same price. Again, not that the extra content doesn't make a difference, but where do you stand on that generally?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I think it helps make an easier decision for people who are on the edge about it. If they don't want to pay $60 to play it again, then I think that makes it easy for you. So if you're not a fan of that, then you don't get it. I mean, I got Tropical Freeze because I love that game, and I'll buy it, a million times or whatever. They keep bringing it to the next console, but I don't know. I agree it's maybe a little cheap, but they've pretty much put their stance that that's how they're going to do it. And so, like it or hate it, it seems to be what they're going to be doing moving forward. So I just kind of try to embrace it.
It kind of makes sense. It sucks for the diehard Nintendo fans who have bought all the Wii U stuff, but so few people have purchased the Wii U versions of these things. From the average consumer, it's going to be a brand new game for them, so I understand why they're going with a $60 price point for a lot of these, is because for the majority of people that are going to be picking it up, it's going to be a new game for them. Like, I've talked to people that, weren't even aware that this new Super Mario Bros. Deluxe game was for the Wii U. To them, it was just a new Super Mario Bros. Game. So it makes sense. It just, feels a little bit sucky for us diehards. And I wish that there was like a way to, hey, original owners get a little bit of a discount, but I know the semantics of that would be probably a little bit too difficult. So it's a shame, but I'm glad that these ports are happening because it's really just opening up some really great games to a wider audience. There was a lot of really good stuff for the Wii U, and it just got completely ignored because of the poor sales of the hardware. So I'm happy that these are happening, definitely.
No, you're totally right. I mean, it changes the conversation where you just have to realistically look at the Wii U as just not many eyes on those games. And I think it's great that they're coming out these games. I think they're quality, and as long as they are, generally, then you're gonna please people when it's new to me. I feel bad even saying I want a break in the price because everybody wants to support, developers and things. I know Nintendo first party, a different story a little bit when it's, they're not exactly the little guy, but, I do feel bad at the same time because I think the trending is that we want to pay next to nothing for everything. So, we have to keep that in check. Now, all that to say, my biggest question is the value there for a game? That's what my primary concern is whenever I'm selecting a game to purchase. There's too much out there in the market. Everybody has a limited budget. So my question to Clay is the value there? Is it worth the money? And then what do you think generally about that, Clay?
I mean, it's hard to say, only 4 or 5 hours into it. But I mean, as far as where I'm at right now, I would say so. But until I've, properly played through it, it's hard to really, get the full scope of the game. But most of these Mario games are decently long. This one has the big coins that you also have to collect, like the secondary collectibles that are, better hidden. And so there's some challenge in finding those. I know that's kind of a thing that Nintendo does with a lot of their games. So really you could play through each level and just, run from start to finish and try to get through it as quick as possible. Or you can spend time, looking for secrets and bonus rooms. And there is a lot of that stuff in there, which I think is really cool. So you can play the levels, multiple times through in different ways. You could either speed through it or, take your time and explore and stuff. And so I like that. I think that works for, multiple people, multiple types of gamers, and so I like that. They added, a couple additional characters that weren't in the original, like Toadette and her power-ups and stuff, and so that adds another additional, way to play, kind of like Funky Kong did with Tropical Freeze. And so, yeah, I think it's great. As far as I can tell, I mean, it's a very polished game. It looks great in HD. I mean, it already was in HD, but I think it looks great. And so, as far as I can tell, early on, I feel like I got a full size game. I at one point I just went to the map screen and just started looking around at all the different areas, and it's kind of crazy how much there is, how many different areas there are. And so, yeah, I'm not regretting my purchase by any means. So
Yeah, I think the price is, when I haven't played this version, but the price is definitely fair, considering that I played way more to get both the Luigi expansion and this. And people need to understand the Luigi expansion is basically an entirely another game. It almost completely doubles the amount of content. So
Totally.
it's like you have everything that's in the base game, and then you have all the Luigi levels. So it's basically you're getting two games for the price of one. So I think $60 is completely appropriate for this particular title.
I have a very fun fact. Do you want to guess how many levels are in the game, Clay? This deluxe game as a package. Just guess off the top of your head.
150.
And David?
125.
This is from the Nintendo.com description of the game. Tackle 164 platforming courses in the two main game modes and enjoy extra replayability with 3 additional game modes in which you can play as a Mii character, as well as challenges, boost rush, and coin battle. And before I move on to the modes, I wanted to ask you about the characters because, for instance, like in Mario 2, Peach would have like a particular float to her jump and things like that. Is that the case with the characters here? Does Mario feel different from controlling Luigi, Peach, what is it, Bowsette? Not Bowsette. Peachette? What's Toadette?
Toadette.
There's so many ets around here. It's a damn shame that Bowsette
Bowser
isn't in the
is a
game.
complete
Rust,
fan creation. It's not
rest
real.
in peace is all I'm saying, because I'm on board for more characters. But do they control differently, Clay?
Yeah, and maybe David could talk a little more into it, but Luigi has his kind of floatiness, and Peach has her little soaring. And then there you can also play as Nabbit, who is the easiest character to play with because technically he identifies as a villain, and so when you play as him, the bad guys don't hurt you. And then yeah, and so which is great for young players. It's kind of the easier mode. In fact, my wife, she tried out Nabbit last night, and so there was a couple times where it was nice because she was able to stay alive a little more. Obviously, pits still kill you, but so yeah, so there's a decent variety with the characters, which is nice. The Toads are kind of useless, but
Right.
I
At least they added Toadette now to kind of make it at least so that Toads don't all look exactly the same, which is nice.
right, yeah.
I know that's a new addition.
And going back to talking about the value in the game modes, I wanted to see if you found any value in that. Like, I think the way that I talked about it when we were off air was, is this padding or is this actually something enticing? Because when you do go through the levels and you want to find the hidden coins, I like that. I know, David, you like collectibles too, right? So that does something for me.
I love for collectibles.
It's a huge thing. I mean, going back to Mario 64 and the stars, there's something about the platforming and the collectibles that is done in Mario games typically that is like, it's attainable, and it's also like scratching that itch where I gotta get them all. So what are these other modes like, though? Does that bring anything to you? Have you gotten a chance to try that?
I haven't. Dave, did you ever play him?
I'm trying to remember what was there on the Wii U version. What are the modes that you got? 'Cause I think they might have added some new ones.
It says here challenges, boost rush, and coin battle.
Yeah, I don't think I did. I think I remember there being like at least one other option on the Wii U version that I never played. So I primarily just played through the main single player, and I did co-op with my wife a little bit.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
unfortunately, I didn't check those out, and I probably should have for this sake right now. But I don't know. I always view those things as like, oh, that'll be something cool to check out, after I've gotten my fill of the normal gameplay.
Yeah.
But usually by that point, I'm like ready to move on to a different game, or I've just had my fill. And so maybe if you're a kid and you only got a couple games, that would be something that you'd spend some time on. But for someone our age, I just don't know, unless you're like looking for something different to do with friends or your kids or something. I don't know how much interest people even have in that kind of stuff, but who knows, it could be incredibly fun. I have no idea.
Yeah.
So.
David, what's your big question? Like, what would be a deciding factor in you to know if this game is good or not, or worth your money, what have you?
It was a little bit complicated for me because I already know that it is good. I guess my biggest question is, the reason that I haven't picked it up yet is because it's a game I've played quite a bit already. And from what I saw, it didn't look like the additional content was very significant, especially for someone who owned the Luigi expansion as well. So I guess my biggest question, and it's making me debate whether and when I should pick it up, is how much added value there is from someone who owned both the Luigi DLC and the base game on the Wii U. And it's kind of a hard question to, I think, get an answer from you guys, because neither one of you has owned it on the Wii U, at least with
Right.
both content expansions together. So there's something new for both of you guys. Whereas for me, I think I'd be getting like a couple new characters. And from what I understand, I think the resolution looks a bit better. Like it's up to 1080p now, which is nice.
Mm-hmm. I mean, from hearing the complaints of people, typically it's, I've played this already. And then, the response that, you'd want to have as Nintendo is, but, we've done this or that. So we know the 2 game pack-ins to make the Deluxe. It's, like Clay said, more than you could ever want to consume. By then you should have your fill. I mean, come on. But the game modes, yeah. The Nabbit thing, I think it's interesting that with these new releases, they're going after a casual mode. They're like, okay, well, we recognize now that there was a gap there at some point, and we really do want to attract those young players even more, where we have these Funky Kong, Nabbit things that are going to help. And again, it's that market. It's the kids. Can somebody think about the children is what I'm saying. You know what I mean? Like that. Come on, Nintendo.
The children. Think about the children.
For me, Clay, the best part of any Mario game is if it keeps things fresh and you're saying, wow, or cool, and you're learning that new mechanic, you're seeing that new level. I'll be honest, I'm kind of over the art style at this point. I've seen it.
Yeah.
Every time that I think we've blown our minds when you go to like a Paper Mario or 3D Mario and Mario 64, like or Galaxy, I'm looking for this newness. And with Odyssey already passed, wouldn't it have been nice to have another series pop up? I would have preferred a Paper Mario. But that being said, how is the game as you've experienced it? Is it doing new things in this series? Is it keeping your interest generally?
Yeah, and that's one thing. I'm still opening up these new experiences. But what I've seen so far, there's been a couple different things that I can think of that make it unique, and there's one in particular that I thought was really unique and pretty fun, actually. One of them is there's like a new suit. It's like the flying squirrel suit. I think that's kind of
Yeah, I love that.
That's the big pole. I think it's like on the opening cutscene. This tree spreads all these like acorn things everywhere, and so that's one of the suits, and it's pretty cool and unique, and has a little bit of a glide to it, and like an additional like jump kind of thing. So that one's pretty cool. But the thing I really like is the like baby Yoshis that you can get in this game, which kind of felt like an afterthought in the marketing, at least from my perspective, even though if you look at like any pictures of this game, they're like everywhere. But they're like littered throughout the whole area, the levels, and so you pick them up and then you take them into a level with you. And so in the first area, you get this pink baby Yoshi who, when you hold on to him, he like inflates into a giant balloon, and then he slowly like deflates. And I just thought that was like super fun and unique. and different, because you can still lose the Yoshi. Like, you're not guaranteed that you're gonna have it, and you can accidentally like throw him down a pit if you're not careful. But you can just like fly through the level otherwise. I don't know, I just think it was really cool. And so when I got done with that level with it, I was like, that was really fun, and it was different and unique. And sure, the level looked a little bland or whatever, but like at the end of the day, like the gameplay itself was really enjoyable, and I really liked it. And so I don't know, I thought that was really cool. I know there's like a penguin suit later on, which I think is in the other games. David, what else is there? I'm trying to think. Do you know of any other ones?
I noticed a lot of power-ups that I wasn't
can't
familiar
think.
with, and when I saw your gameplay clip, I saw a lot of things that I was just not, maybe I just,
Yeah.
it's newer to me, again, things like that.
And one thing I do appreciate about this particular entry of New Super Mario Bros. Series, which I think makes it kind of superior to all the others, is there is some new sort of level tile sets that haven't been seen previously, so it starts to edge away from the sort of generic Super Mario art. I don't know if you've gotten here yet, Clay, but there's a level that has kind of a hand-painted, almost Van Gogh style art style to it.
Ooh, that's hot.
Yeah, it's really cool. It's like my favorite level type in the game. And I can't remember what world it's in, but I remember it's like, oh wow, this is actually not a generic sort of New Super Mario Brothers type level, and I thought that was really cool.
Nice.
I think it's definitely the best in that series. It starts to experiment a little bit more rather than just sort of, pre-rendered classic Mario items. And I know everyone complains about fatigue, but I think it'd be cool if they did another one, a brand new one on Switch. But hey.
Yeah. Yeah, and I saw some critiques from some people on YouTube about how they compared a single level from Donkey Kong Tropical Freeze against 3 levels in this Mario game, and like the one Donkey Kong level had more variety in like level design and like aesthetic than 3 different separate levels did in this one Mario U Bros Deluxe. And so I thought that was interesting too, and I don't want to just sit here and compare it to Donkey Kong, but
Right.
There was a couple times though in certain levels where halfway through they changed it up and it didn't feel like the
Yeah.
first half of the level.
And to be fair, the level design in Tropical Freeze is the levels are way longer, even compared to Donkey Kong Country Returns. So there's
Right.
a lot more opportunity for that when the base level is just larger than the base one they're comparing it to. But no, the level design in Tropical Freeze is great, and I won't deny that it's better level design than this game. But I feel like you're comparing it to, I mean, I don't know, it's almost the standard you're comparing it to is too high.
Oh,
And
yeah.
I think so you're saying it's still a really good probably, I mean, I can't think of any other recent 2D platformer on the Switch that's as good as New Super Mario Bros. With the exception of Tropical Freeze. So I guess
Yeah.
bear that in mind.
Well, I'd
Yeah.
but the reputation of Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze being a very difficult game also tells me that it was speaking to a different market in that way. So not only visually, but if you're going to keep it basic, on the mechanic side and a little bit on the easier side in this series, then I also would say that there would be kind of less going on with the artistic vision and in that way, somewhat related. It's more of a basic platformer than the artistic mastery of Tropical Freeze. I mean, it's praised as a game for that reason. So I would say there would be some type of, correlation there. I think that, from everything that I heard, it's looking like a buy to me. Like, I'm pretty convinced that the value's there. Like I said, did you get you said you did play with your wife, right? So you experienced the multiplayer. Because if there's
Yes.
anything unique about the Switch, it's pop off the 2 Joy-Cons and you got 2 players wherever you are. So you were able to do that, right?
Correct. Yeah, and anybody who's played these games multiplayer know that it does get, the more you add, the more chaotic it gets, because every player interacts with the other player, and so you can jump off each other, you pick each other up and throw each other, and so you can play it in more of a cooperative way, or you can kind of try to race each other, and so it's pretty fun. And I would say, once again, bringing up Tropical Freeze, I think they do multiplayer better on this than Tropical Freeze does. But there's a couple times where it can be a little frustrating, where you go to make a jump and you end up jumping into another player and you end up dying. And so my poor wife, she's not a huge platformer, but she tried this out with me, and it was almost instantly got a little bit frustrating. And I try not to take it out on her, because she didn't do anything wrong. But it's still really fun, and I think with 4 players, it's just pure chaos, but in a good way. I think it's a fun chaos, and so I think 3D World does a better job with the multiplayer than this, but it's still totally accessible and doable. You can still bubble up, so if it gets difficult, you can always go into a bubble if you're playing with a child or something, and then join back in on the action later. So I think it works really well for that.
I really like that when you're, damaged or when you're trying to float along in that bubble. That's cool. And the franticness of having 4 people on screen, I can imagine that being a lot of fun. There is no online multiplayer, right? It's only local couch co-op. Is that correct, Clay?
Unfortunately, that would have been a nice addition, though, if they could have somehow added.
Why are we paying for this?
But it's not a Switch Talk episode if Tony doesn't complain about there not being good online capability.
Is it not true? Is it not true?
Oh, you're totally right. And it could have been a great thing to market this and make it even more desirable for people like David who, maybe already played this and are on the fence. Maybe the fact that it could be online would be enough to tip people over to want to play it. But I don't know. Latency issues could be difficult. So
I'm just pretending that the $20 a year I'm paying is for the classic virtual console games and not online.
Yay!
Because the service,
value.
The service really isn't worth it for online.
I want to mention really quick that the overworld map, which I didn't realize this before, but looking at your game capture footage, resembles the Super NES entry, Super Mario World, and it's kind of freaking me out right now, and it's looking like that just alone solidified my purchase. It just has a general layout that's kind of similar to that game, which is one of my top 5 all-time games.
Yeah, it gets compared to Super Mario World a lot online. I've actually there's been many discussions, though obviously I don't agree that there's actually a segment of Mario fans that believe it's better than Super Mario World, and that the only reason people like World better is because of nostalgia, which I don't think I agree with, but that is an opinion that I've heard. So it is quite good.
Now, speaking of the overworld, it is really cool. I got to a part in the game where you can literally pick which area you want to go to next. You can go up or you can go down. And so you can kind of move around and, kind of tackle the levels, however you want. At certain points, there's not complete freedom on it, but sometimes there is. And so I thought that was kind of neat. Like I could pick from, go to the snow world or go to a different one. And so I picked the snow world. I like that. And then there's enemies that you run into in the level select screen, kind of similar to Mario 3, where if you bump into a Goomba, then you go into this little battle with them and stuff. I don't know. It's really cool. There's a lot more going on the home screen than some of the other Mario games or the level select screen. And I like that. I thought that was pretty cool. So.
Did you have any other final questions before we wrap it up, David?
I don't think so. I think it's a great game. I probably will pick it up at one point. The main reason I didn't is there was a Tales of Vesperia was coming out the same day, and most people recommended getting that over it, especially if you had played Mario before. So I went with that. Amazon still hasn't delivered it yet, and I'll probably swing back around and pick up Mario 2 at some point.
When it's up to me, I would say that I'm going to get it. I mean, even with the crowded landscape, there's too much value there. I think I could be playing this, for the rest of the year, and it looks like a great quality title, that pack in. The value's there for me. Clay, can we get a couple pros, cons, your general recommendation?
Yeah, just kind of final thoughts and all that. It seems like there's a lot of unique gameplay in this, variety. It doesn't feel monotonous, at least where I'm at right now. Visually, it's a beautiful game. It looks really good in both handheld and on the TV. If you have people that you're playing with, I think this is a good, fun game to play with other people. I wish I had somebody that really loved this game that I could play through from start to finish. It would be, awesome. But regardless, I still enjoy it, and it's a fun one to pick up and play 3 or 4 levels and then put it away. I don't like it more than Tropical Freeze, but that's not a bad thing. This is a good game, and it definitely highly recommend it if you haven't played this. If you have played it before, obviously I would respect if you're not really sure about it, then I would probably say just sit it out. But that being said, I think it's overall, it's a good package. And like Dave said, adding the Luigi levels just makes this. There's so much content here, just in levels alone, that I think it's worth buying. And it's got that Nintendo polish and charm, and I'm very happy with my purchase. So
Excellent. Well, thank you very much, Clay. Very informative. Playing the expert. I think it all worked out. Very good flow to the show. Want to thank you if you're a listener for sticking with us. Switch Talk 2.0, a little bit of a change here. Hope you like it. I think I like it. Oh yeah. All right.
thanks to Gary and Jeff for joining us in the chat there. That was awesome. They've been chatting pretty much the whole time we've been on here. So
Yeah, that's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
So yeah, keep watching it live, and you can get in cool little meta discussions about the show while we do it. So that could be fun.
All right. Thank you, everybody. And we'll see you next time for a Switch Talk. Enjoy your 2019.